Baelish broke the silence. I do hope, Lord Stark, that you are satisfied with my compliance. I have made no attempt to flee or undermine the realm, as you see. Ned regarded him coldly. For now, you remain under watch. Baelish smiled thinly. I assure you, your watchers do a fine job. Everywhere I turn, a gold cloak stands behind me. I can hardly visit the privy without them. Jaime snorted. Let that continue. If you're half as clever as you claim, you should realize it's for your own good, too. If any harm befalls you, the king will suspect foul play from one side or another. Baelish turned his gaze to Jaime. Sir Jaime, your presence in this matter is most intriguing. I wonder what your father thinks of you conspiring with Lord Stark. Jaime's eyes flicked with irritation. You don't get to question me, Baelish. Baelish merely shrugged. No matter. Perhaps you see the death of Lord Arryn as a personal insult to your father's ambitions, or the realm's security. Or perhaps you're simply bored. Either way, I find it interesting. Before Jaime could retort, Varys stepped forward. My lords, let us not descend into bickering. The king's mood is foul enough. We should ensure the city does not catch wind of these tensions. The small folk grow anxious when rumors of murder swirl around the court. Ned exhaled slowly. Wise words. For now, we maintain watch on Baelish. The king ordered it. There is little else to be done until we have more evidence. Baelish inclined his head in mocking deference. Then I shall await your further revelations, my lord. He moved to leave, escorted by the guards. Once he was gone, Jaime swore under his breath. Varys sighed. Ned rubbed his temples, wishing the stalemate would break. Despite the partial confinement, Baelish remained smug, confident the realm's finances and political complexities would shield him. They needed a decisive blow. A confession, a direct witness, or something so damning that even the realm's fear of chaos would not hold Robert back. At dusk, Ned and Jaime arranged for Giles and Dawes to be brought again to a discreet chamber in Maegor's Holdfast, far from Baelish's ears. This time they brought Maester Luwin, who had come south from Winterfell, to assist in questioning them with calm logic. Varys also joined, though he stood aside. They wanted to coax every detail from the Watchmen. The two men arrived, eyes darting about with obvious nerves, wringing their hands. Candles flickered on a small table, the only illumination in the dim room. Ned spoke gently but firmly. We need you to recall every detail. Think back to that night. You say you saw a hooded figure. Did you notice how tall he was? Was his cloak of a particular color, style, or material? Dawes swallowed. He was of medium height, my lord. Wore a dark cloak, maybe black or brown. Hard to say in the shadows. He moved quick. Giles added. He had a slight limp, I think, or maybe a stiffness in one leg. Could have been an old injury. The boots were well made, not a beggar's boots. Ned nodded, encouraging them. Anything about his face? A flash of hair? Eyes? A scar? They shook their heads. Dawes muttered. Didn't see his face. He kept the hood low. We were told to look away. Maester Luwin stepped in, calm and methodical. You said you recognized the gate as belonging to someone from the Red Keep. Why? Giles looked uncertain. Just that many a time you see the same men walking these halls. You learn to recognize them by how they carry themselves. Jaime pressed. Could it have been Baelish himself? They both shook their heads vigorously. No, I don't think so, Dawes said. Lord Baelish is slighter, he moves with a certain flourish, if you know what I mean. This was more plain, purposeful. Ned felt a chill. Someone else in the castle, then. That meant Baelish might have hired or co-opted a third party to deliver the poison. Have you ever seen that gate since? He asked. Or recall seeing it before that night? They exchanged nervous looks. Giles hesitated, chewing on his lip. Dawes looked at him as though silently urging him not to speak. Finally, Giles spoke in a near whisper. There is a man in the Red Keep who walks with a bit of a limp or stiffness. A guardsman or retainer, maybe, but I don't know his name. Jaime folded his arms. Any clues? A house sigil? A color he wears? Giles shook his head helplessly. I can't be certain. So many come and go. Varys offered a soft sigh. At least we know it may not have been Baelish himself. That fits with the notion that he had an assassin or accomplice. But who? Ned's frustration mounted. We'll have to investigate discreetly. Look for a man in the keep with that limp or stiffness in the leg. It might be a red herring, but it's something. Giles and Dawes were dismissed with instructions not to mention the additional questioning. The men left, perspiration gleaming on their brows. Once the door closed, Jaime muttered a curse. Another needle in a haystack. The keep is full of guardsmen, servants, lesser lords. Varys tapped his fingertips together. We can attempt a quiet inquiry. My little birds might find out who among the castle denizens matches this description. Then we can see if there's a connection to Baelish. Ned rubbed his jaw. Yes, do that. We still need Lisa's presence or more letters from her. That, combined with identifying the assassin, might be enough to corner him. They agreed to proceed, though each felt a weariness as the night pressed on. The city felt like a labyrinth of secrets and half-truths, with Baelish at its center, weaving new illusions. Yet they had come too far to relent. Jon Arryn's memory demanded perseverance. 2 days passed in similar fashion. Robert resumed his hunts, Cersei hovered around Sansa to gauge the betrothal's arrangements, and Baelish handled the crown's finances, all while under heavy guard. The rumor of Targaryen activity across the sea spread through the court, stirring talk of ships sighted near Lys, possible alliances with Pentos, and so on. Robert raged about it, slamming cups and demanding updated intelligence. Varys looked into those rumors and found only vague evidence that suggested the threat was overblown. Still, the king's mind was partially occupied by these new worries, exactly as Baelish must have hoped. Meanwhile, Ned spent hours in the library, sifting through genealogies. He confirmed what Jon Arryn must have suspected, that no Baratheon child in recorded history had come out with golden hair when born of a Baratheon father. Every time, the Baratheon traits dominated. The logic was unsettling, unstoppable. He flipped from page to page, reading of distant ancestors, all with black hair, and thinking of Joffrey's bright gold locks, Myrcella's shining tresses, Tommen's round cheeks and fair hair. A creeping certainty took hold of Ned. Jon Arryn had discovered the children were not Robert's. That secret threatened everything. Baelish must have realized Jon's knowledge could ruin the realm in a violent succession crisis. Perhaps Baelish's plan was to exploit it, or to ensure it never saw the light of day while sowing discord for his own gain. On the third evening, Ned emerged from the library with the genealogical tomes under his arm, intending to speak with Robert privately. But as he neared the king's chambers, he heard loud voices. The guards at the door wore uneasy expressions. Ned inquired if the king was all right, and one guard whispered that the queen was within, that the king and queen were in a heated argument. Ned hesitated. He loathed eavesdropping, but he caught snatches of words through the thick door. Something about whispers and treason and the children. Ned's heart hammered. He stepped back, deciding it best not to intrude. If Robert had confronted Cersei about the parentage of the children, the entire city might soon be in flames. At length, the door flew open and Cersei stormed out, her face pale with rage, green eyes flashing. She started upon seeing Ned. For a moment, neither spoke. She gave him a murderous glare, as though suspecting he was the cause of Robert's suspicions, then swept past him without a word. Ned glanced at the guards, but they said nothing. He pushed open the door to find Robert pacing, goblet in hand, looking as though he might hurl it against the wall. When Robert caught sight of Ned, he let out a short, bitter laugh. If you've come to tell me more about traitors, spies, or genealogies, you're too late. Ned shut the door behind him, stepping forward. Your Grace, I came to speak with you about a matter discovered in Lord Arryn's research. But if this is not a good time, Robert nearly bellowed. Not a good time? It's never a good time in this damned nest of vipers. She's lying to me, Ned. I can see it in her eyes. Lying about everything. I tried to get the truth from her, but she weaves some story about you conspiring with her enemies, about Baelish, about the realm in danger. The moment I pressed her about Jon Arryn's findings, she clammed up. Ned's hand tightened around the book. So you do suspect the children might not be yours? Robert's glare pinned him. What do you know about that? Did you find proof? Some detail in those musty tomes? Ned swallowed. Yes, your grace. I fear it's as Lord Arryn suspected. The children's hair, their features. Baratheon traits are always strong, but your children, they favor the Lannisters in every way. Robert's face darkened. He raised the goblet to his lips and drained it in one go, then hurled it aside. By the gods! If that's true, do you know what it means, Ned? My heirs, my line, nothing but a lie. He raked his fingers through his hair. I wanted to ignore the rumors. I wanted to bury it, but I can't. Jon died for this secret, didn't he? Ned kept his voice low, hoping not to provoke the king to more fury. I believe so. Jon must have discovered the truth of your children's parentage. Baelish saw an opportunity in that. He manipulated Lysa, orchestrated Jon's death, pinned blame on the Lannisters, sowed chaos. He used your heartbreak to rise even higher. Robert collapsed into a chair as though struck. He stared at the fireplace, silent for several heartbeats. Finally, he whispered, "And Cersei, does she think me a blind fool? Did she bed her brother to produce these golden-haired heirs?" Ned felt a pang of pity. So the rumors go. Jon suspected incest between her and Jaime. I cannot say for certain, but the evidence strongly suggests it. The king lifted his head, eyes gleaming with unshed tears of anger. That arrogant bastard. But I blame her more than him. He inhaled, a ragged sound. Ned, what do I do now? If this is all true, the realm will erupt. The Lannisters will not yield Joffrey's claim quietly. War might follow. Ned crouched beside the king's chair, lowering his voice to a hushed tone. We must proceed carefully, your grace. The main threat right now is Baelish. He arranged Jon Arryn's murder. He's the one who's used your uncertain lineage to keep you distracted. We can confront Cersei and Jaime about the parentage once we have Baelish pinned down. Otherwise, if the Lannisters suspect we mean to dethrone Joffrey, they will strike. Robert's breaths came quick and shallow. A part of me wants to call my banners, tear them all to pieces. Ned placed a reassuring hand on the king's shoulder. We should confirm the truth beyond doubt. Then we can plan the best course. Let us bring forth the Watchman's testimony, Lysa's letter, and this genealogical proof, culminating in the exposure of Baelish's role. With Baelish unmasked, perhaps the Lannisters will lose one advantage. Then we address the matter of your children, quietly if possible, to avoid open war. Robert snorted bitterly. Quietly? There's no quiet about a lie on the throne. The realm will demand blood. Ned had no comforting words for that. The truth was savage. But a flicker of resolve passed over Robert's face. So be it. But first, Baelish. I will not let that weasel slip away again. Summon the council tomorrow. We'll corner him with these revelations about Jon Arryn's research. If he tries to twist it back on the Lannisters, we'll be ready. But we move soon, Ned. No more half measures. Ned nodded. Aye, your grace. Tomorrow we end the stalemate. That night, Ned confided in Jaime what Robert had learned. Jaime's face went pale, then hot with anger, at the suggestion that the king now suspected the children's true parentage. Yet Jaime also recognized the immediate threat was Baelish. If Baelish tried to exploit the revelation of Cersei's children, the realm could ignite before they could see him punished. So Jaime, though tormented by the knowledge that Robert might soon condemn his sister and her offspring, agreed that Baelish had to be dealt with first.